Photography meets 3D printing with Shrunk 3D, which is an event booth similar to a photo booth, but instead of a 2D image, you will be getting a 3D print of yourself, similar to what Nick has. And Nick is actually the owner and operator of the Shrunk 3D booth here in Colorado, which just happens to be the first one in our state. So Nick, thank you so much for greeting us here today and showing off Shrunk 3D. I'm so excited to learn all about it. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for interviewing me and the opportunity.
Absolutely. It's a very cool concept. We have a bunch of images here on display, and today we're going to get to learn all about Shrunk 3D. You are actually holding a little figure of yourself there, which I think is very cool. But before we kind of get into some of the specifics, can you give us an overview of what Shrunk 3D is?
So Shrunk 3D is the world's first mobile 3D scanning photo booth, and we have about 100 cameras in there, and within 2 seconds we take 200 pictures, and then we use those to create a 3D image, and we send those to state-of-the-art 3D printers. Now, we're not talking about your home 3D printers, we're talking about professional-grade HP printers, and they are sintered nylon, so they're very, very robust. Now, I've worked in the 3D printing field for about 10 years in scanning and printing technologies, and I made these, and when I first started my career, they were made out of ground-up gypsum, so wallboard material, and if you drop them, they'd shatter into a million pieces, and nobody wants that. So we've now reached a point where the scanning technology has converged with the printing technology, and it's gotten to the point where you now have something usable. The resolution's good, the strength is good, and most importantly is the 3D scanning process. You no longer have to be a top certified technician. Anybody can do this, and it's really just a button click, and the system Shrunk's built has made it really, really easy and simple to filter people in and out. I used to chase people around with handheld scanners for like 3 hours, and they'd sneeze, I'd have to start over. And forget pets, man. Everybody wanted their pet scanned, and they just moved too much, so it never worked. But here, if you can keep your pet still for 2 seconds, you can immortalize them forever as a 3D print.
Have those special keepsakes that, like you said, you can include the whole family, including pets, the little ones. And it really is such a cool, unique, and new kind of technology that Nick mentions with all this 3D printing, that you get to keep these little shrunk figures of yourself to capture those moments forever. Nick, why, I know you're kind of focused on Denver and the West. Why are you choosing this region? What brought you out here and made you kind of focus on the mountains and the west of Colorado?
So Shrunk is an event-centric business, and with all the events that the ski resorts do, I figured it would be prime territory, and I'm a big skier myself, so to be able to work and live in the mountains, there's not that many opportunities for 3D printing, 3D scanning jobs up here, so I kind of created my own that fits into the ecosystem of event planning out here.
And it really does allow you for that flexibility to get out in the mountain, to travel to some of the events, like you said, at the resort or at some of the different towns, and just get out and about and share Shrunk 3D with all of our state here in Colorado. Now, let's get into some of the specific. You're holding a figure of yourself right there. Are there different sizes, can you do different movements, different poses? What's the process like when somebody goes inside the booth, and then what are kind of some of the options that they can choose from?
Yeah, so that's a great point. It's pretty freeform. As long as you can hold still for 2 seconds, you can do any pose you want, and that's a great advantage compared to the handheld scanners. So we offer sizes from 3 to 9 inches, and you can do what we call 2.5 people per scan or per print, and that would be 2 adults and a child, or 2 adults and a pet. And if you have a larger family than that, we can take a 2D photo and then print you in separate statues, but scale them accordingly. So when displayed together, it would look like you're proportionately the right heights.
And I love that we have on display here a bunch of those figures. People can do anything they want with it, get creative. We see a wine topper. We also see a wedding cake topper. So you can really kind of customize this and get creative with the poses and stuff, and really capture personalities, capture, the essence of the people. Now, you did mention before this, Nick, that you kind of ship it out to get printed and all of that. What happens once the people leave the booth? What's the process after that, and maybe a time frame of when people would be getting their Shrunk figures?
Yep, so we are 3 to 4 weeks for them to receive the box with their figure in the mail, and we like to say we're as fast as custom can be. So what is involved after they leave, behind the scenes, we're going through and taking those 200 pictures, and we're giving them to a human designer who touches everything up and makes it perfect.
Okay.
So for example, if you got shrunk with your ski poles and you ordered a 3-inch figure, if they scaled the ski poles appropriately, they would be way too weak and they'd break. So they have to go through and kind of maximize those. So printing at a 3-inch scale, they won't break and they'll be durable. So that's a pretty involved hands-on process. And after that, they get sent to a 3D printer, an HP printer in full color, and they go through a post-processing process, chemical smoothing, and then they ship right to your doorstep.
You'll get a box right to your doorstep, as Nick mentioned. And the cool thing, too, is that it captures small details such as tattoos. If you're wearing glasses, it really does capture the most smallest of details. It really does such a good job, and you'll be able to see on those figures that we'll be showing on screen. If anybody is interested in contacting you all, Nick, for events, how can they do so? Are there, what types of events do you all do, and how can people reach out to you?
So you can reach out to us at denverwest@shrunk3d.com, or shrunk3d.com/denverwest will be our website address. And we do all events, kind of life milestones, graduations, sporting events, youth sporting. It's been very popular in Halloween parties, cosplay. The Denver Fan Expo should be a large one for us. We already have people on our Facebook page asking if we're going to be there, and yes, we will be there. So get your best cosplay costume out and get shrunk with it.
Awesome. And I know you also do name, image, likeness, figures for athletes and stuff like that. Tell me a little bit about that before we wrap up.
Yeah, so we can launch an e-commerce store with an athlete's likeness. They sign an agreement with us, very simple, and we give them a percentage of the sales. So we issue them a monthly commission check, and they can go on and promote it to their fan base. And it's just a great way to immortalize your sporting moments.
Immortalize sporting moments, milestones, weddings, birthdays, graduations, you name it. You can get those 3D shrunken figures of yourself like Nick is holding here by visiting and booking the Shrunk 3D booth for your next event. Make sure to visit shrunk3d.com/denverwest. You'll find all the information there, as well as more details to contact Nick and his team. Nick, thank you so much. It's been awesome getting to learn all about Shrunk 3D, and I appreciate your time.
Likewise, appreciate your time.
We're going to take a short break, everybody, but we'll be back with more of the show after this. So stay tuned. We'll be back.